So yesterday, I got to play the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo invited me out to the Switch preview tour in New York City, and while I was there, I actually got to hold the Switch in my hands and try out the different controller types and play some of the upcoming games. It was a ton of fun. I recorded a lot of raw footage while I was there, but I didn't really film much context to go along with it, so I figured I might as well try and do that here. Think of this as story time with Matt, if you will, so gather around the fireplace, lads, and listen to my tale of the Nintendo Switch preview tour. So, I arrived at the preview tour a little before 10 a.m., checked in, and went to the hotel where the event was being held. They led us into the area where the event was shortly after 10 a.m., and immediately, we rushed towards the back of the first room to play The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I uploaded my entire, full raw footage already, so you can check that out somewhere around here. It's hard to explain, but even though this version of Breath of the Wild was still based on the E3 demo, more stuff has been added to it, and it felt more like a completed game to me. The menus were slightly different, and some features were improved, so overall it just felt slightly more polished in a way. I did, however, notice that at one point the frame rate took a pretty big nosedive while I was just walking towards the Temple of Time. As I said though, this is a demo build based off of the E3 build from June of last year, so might not be a perfect representation of the final game's optimization. Nintendo has stated they are aiming for 1080p 60 FPS while on the dock for the Nintendo Switch version, and certainly the game was running at that for 99% of my play session, but that one dip does stick out in my mind. While playing Breath of the Wild, I got to try out all the Joy-Con based control methods. First with them attached to the Joy-Con grip, then attached to the screen itself, and finally just holding each Joy-Con in my hand, kinda like you would a Wiimote or a nunchuck. The Joy-Con grip is essentially the poor man's Pro Controller, but it works, and it's actually pretty comfortable in your hands, and I wouldn't mind using this for a longer play session. Then there is a button on the back of the Joy-Cons that you press in to release the locking mechanisms, and you can slide them up and off the grip, so that way you can attach them to the Switch console itself. The transition time from grip to switch is quick, and there's a nice satisfying click that you hear when the controllers lock into place on the screen, so you know when you can safely remove the Switch from the dock. Going from TV mode to portable mode is basically instant. Going back to the TV takes 2 or 3 seconds, but that's really only because the TVs need a second to recognize the new signal and adjust to display it. While playing in portable mode though, you'll probably notice just how light and small the Switch actually is. Even with both controllers attached to the thing, it's smaller than the Wii U gamepad, and I think the size and weight are perfect for what the Switch is trying to do. And despite the screen only being 720p, games including Breath of the Wild still look amazing and have a ton of detail in them. Lastly, when holding the Joy-Cons in each hand, you get a better feel for how tiny they actually are. Despite that though, they are fairly comfortable even for someone like me with fairly large hands. I did notice one annoying thing while using this control method, and it does sort of apply to the others, but not as bad. The analog stick on the right Joy-Con is placed directly below the buttons. It actually makes it very difficult to manually adjust the camera and do combat or other actions at the same time, and it always felt a little awkward trying to look around. So I'd say this control method is probably better suited for other games like ARMS or 1-2 Switch rather than Zelda. Speaking of 1-2 Switch, that was the next thing I tried out. So 1-2 Switch is interesting. It's basically a party game and a tech demo, so to speak. The best way I've been able to describe it is it's basically WarioWare style minigames, but mostly based on audio and psyching out your opponent. So the way it works is, once the game is chosen, each player is given a Joy-Con, and a little instruction movie will play. After, you wait for an audio cue to start, and you'll follow the instructions. So for instance, the Quick Draw minigame. You wait until you hear the word fire, then you try to be the first one to shoot your opponent. I'm not sure how many minigames will be in the full version of the game, but we played Quick Draw, Samurai, Milk, and a game where you use the HD Rumble to try and guess how many marbles are in a wooden box. Not sure what that one was called. Quick Draw and Samurai were my favorite. The marble game was actually pretty cool though, because HD Rumble works really well. I messed up my answer by tilting the analog stick the wrong way, but I would have correctly answered too if I had done it right. Milk, well, Milk was just weird. 1-2 Switch seems like a game that would be a lot of fun with friends, but it also depends on how many minigames are included, because I feel like it could get old very quickly. and I'm not sure right now if it's really worth the $50 price tag. It feels like something that should be a budget title at maybe $20 most, or even included with the system. The next thing that I played though was ARMS. The demo for ARMS was very limited. You could do player versus AI or player versus player. I of course did player versus player and went up against my friend who came with me. We skipped the tutorial and went in completely blind, knowing nothing about the controls or how the game worked, which may have been a bad idea, but man oh man did it make it more fun. ARMS is a very fast-paced arcade-style fighter almost. You have several characters to choose from, and each character can use like 3 different types of arms, and some arms can only be used on some characters. You control the game by putting a Joy-Con in each hand and tilting them to move around, and throwing punches to actually do your attacks. Now, depending on if you punch straight or curve it to the left or right, will determine where your attack goes. And here's the thing, guys. The motion controls on the Joy-Cons are actually fantastic. Now, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think controls are something that shouldn't get in the way of gameplay or immersion. And motion controls tend to do that because they're often less than perfect. But the Joy-Cons, I actually forgot I was playing with motion controls while I was using them. Every action I did was read and executed exactly how I intended it, and it felt amazing. The game will be able to be played without motion controls, but I would say at least give them a try because they certainly impressed me. After that, we played Splatoon 2. Not a whole lot to say about Splatoon 2 because honestly, it's basically Splatoon. There's a few new weapons, you can dual wield some of them, there's a jetpack now, and you got some new maps and stuff like that. What it boils down to is if you like the original Splatoon, you'll love Splatoon 2. There is enough new content to make it worth a purchase, and being able to play on the go or connect up to 8 different consoles locally for a LAN party type mode is pretty sweet. The next thing I played was Sonic Mania, which I know isn't exclusive to the Switch or anything, but it was there and I kinda wanted to try it out, so I did. It's actually a really fun classic style Sonic game. Definitely reminded me a lot of playing Sonic on the Genesis back when I was a kid. So if you like classic Sonic, everything you like is in there. And the design for the stages are great too, and they're just enough difficulty in there to keep you paying attention and not holding right the entire time. Afterwards, we played a game called Fast RMX, which I think is the sequel to Fast Racing Neo on the Wii U. Either way, it's an F-Zero type arcade racer, and it's a lot of fun, and it looks amazing on the Switch too. This was actually the first game that I tried out with the Switch Pro Controller, and the Pro Controller is really nice. It has some weight to it, which is a little bit strange, but not in a bad way. I really like the feel of the Pro Controller though because the button layouts were really nice, it fit in your hand perfectly, and it just felt like a quality controller, so I'll probably pick one up. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe I didn't get a whole lot of footage of, but having a real battle mode back is awesome. Otherwise though, it's just Mario Kart 8 with new characters, so not a whole lot to say there. I think that was the last thing I played. They had a few other games there, but some of them I just decided I didn't want to wait in line for, so overall, here are my opinions on the Switch. The console itself is a great idea. I personally think the $300 price point is a bit much, especially since it doesn't come with a pack-in game. The console is small enough and light enough though to easily fit inside a backpack or any other bag to travel with, and I can see myself bringing this with me to family get-togethers or whenever I travel. The console itself isn't about how powerful it is, and honestly that's been Nintendo's thing like since the Wii. They aren't trying to compete for the same market as Sony or Microsoft per se. The Switch is more about the fun of playing games with your friends locally more than anything else, and I've always liked and appreciated that about Nintendo. One thing I'm not looking forward to are the hidden costs of the console, if you will. And what I mean by that are the first-party accessories. For instance, an extra set of Joy-Cons will cost you $80. One Pro Controller, that's $70. If you want a Joy-Con charging grip, that will run you $30. And it's worth mentioning that the Joy-Con grip that comes with the console does not charge the Joy-Cons. So the only way you can do that is by attaching them directly to the Switch console itself and docking it. And if for some reason you want another docking set, that will cost you $90 as well. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I personally find some of those prices to be absolutely ludicrous. Hopefully, this will open up the market for third-party companies to come in and create their own versions of these accessories. That way, the consumers have some more options. I do have some gripes with the current way the online service is planned, but that's something that I think will change a lot over the course of the console's lifespan, and I'm somewhat okay with Nintendo charging for an online service, assuming they can deliver something on par with other consoles this generation. In closing, however, I think the Switch as a concept is great. I think the launch window of games could be a little bit better, since I think as of right now we have 6 confirmed launch titles, and of those 6, I would probably only consider buying 3 of them. That does concern me, but now that I've played the console, I can see the potential that it has, and I'm fairly confident that the system will be alright once it gains some traction. So this next part has like nothing to do with the Switch, but I wanted to include it because it's a pretty cool story. So I actually left the event about 20 minutes early to grab some food and make sure I could make my way back to Grand Central Station in time for my train back home. Along the way, we just happened to walk right past both Shigeru Miyamoto and Eiji Aonuma. I didn't want to stop them because it might be rude, but it was also like a once-in-a-lifetime chance, so I kinda did anyways. And I actually got Mr. Aonuma to sign my 3DS, so it was a really cool experience just meeting some of the biggest like gaming icons in the world, and I got to personally thank them for the work they do and the impact that their games had on my life. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video, so if you guys have any Switch related questions, let me know in the comments down below. I will do my best to answer them. As always, if you guys enjoyed this video, a like would be greatly appreciated. If you want to see more of my videos, consider subscribing. But once again, guys, my name is Matt. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.